Shalom, welcome back to Breslov campus. Some encouragement and strength in not being afraid, not having trauma from anything in life, not being afraid of anyone or anything. Just to illustrate this, there is a story told of the Steipler of blessed memory, one of the greatest rabbinical halachic rabbis of the previous generations. He lived in Bnei Brak in Eretz Yisrael, but he grew up in Lithuania or Poland, in that area, Belarus. And in his time, there was a forced draft of Jewish yeshiva students into the army. So he was taken in this forced draft, and they were made to practice shooting on Shabbat. When they were introduced into the army, they wanted to see at what level their skills were in shooting. So they made the yeshiva boys shoot on Shabbat, which, as people probably know, is a desecration of the holiness of Shabbat. You're not allowed to shoot a gun on Shabbat. So while in line to start shooting, the Steipler got into a discussion with another student about what they're going to do. The student told the Steipler, I have no choice, because if we refuse shooting, this could be on the borderline of pikuach, of sakanat nefashot, of danger. They could put me in jail, they can torture me, they can do other types of things, so I have no choice but to shoot. And the Steipler said, I am not going to do that. Rather, I am ready and willing to hold the gun upside down, because there's a halachic law that when you do an act like shooting, but in what's called shinui means not doing it in the proper format. Like, for example, carrying with your elbow, what's called kilach hayad, shinui. Holding a gun upside down is not a normal way of holding a gun, and the chances of you shooting properly are also not 100%. By doing the shinui, so this way there's less of a desecration of Shabbat. And the other student said, they're going to kill you. What are you doing? Just instead shoot. If you shoot upside down, they're going to force you to shoot properly, and you're going to do even more shooting. And the Steipler refused. So what happened was like this: the student who was willing to desecrate the Shabbat openly because of the possibility that they would cause more damage, he shot so imperfectly, they made him shoot again and again and again until he shot in the end, not just once, but 4 to 5 times, adding to the desecration of the Shabbat. And the Steipler, when it came his turn, he suddenly turned the rifle upside down, and before they can say anything to scream at him, what are you doing? He shot, and when he shot, he hit bullseye onto the point of the dot that he was supposed to get to. Everybody was amazed. It reached the newspapers, the national newspapers, how a Jewish yeshiva student held the rifle upside down and shot and hit the bullseye. It became so public knowledge. People were amazed, and from the amazement, they asked the Steipler, what would you like? He says, I want to leave the army. I'm not interested in being in the army. I want to learn Torah. And they said, okay, you have permission to leave. What's the point? Is that the Steipler was not afraid. The other guy was afraid. When you're afraid, the Torah gives you room, leniency to move around and adjust because of your fear of a dangerous situation. Fine, you're entitled, but it's not necessarily the real truth. And in the end, what happens is that people who give in to leniencies because of their fear, in the end, what they feared of happening in the end does happen to them in the main. It's a big rule in life. Whereas the Steipler, who was willing to self-sacrifice, the honor of Hashem comes first. I am no way I'm going to openly desecrate the Shabbat, even if there's a chance of X, Y, and Z happening. For the sake of Hashem's honor, I'm willing to put what's called a type of a self-sacrifice in front and jump in. That's what he did. And lo zo af zo, not only did he not desecrate, but he got out. He was saved. And this is a message Reb Noson goes through a lot. You can see in his letters, Reb Noson's letters, in the book called The Collected Letters of Reb Noson. He mentions this point, that when your fear of heaven comes before fear of man, you get things moving in life. As opposed to if you fear people, you fear man, but I'm afraid this might happen, I'm afraid that might happen, I'm afraid for my children, I'm afraid for this. When you let your fear take precedence, and the fear you have in life determines what you do, your decisions and your activity, so in the end you really do lose out. What you feared about comes up to you. As opposed to, again, when someone fears only Hashem and puts this fear of Hashem in front of him, so then Hashem protects that person. Because you are showing that you're willing to give up everything for the sake of God. And that's what Hashem is expecting of us in this world, right? In that sense, when you have what's called Kel Yaakov Be'ezro, the Kel, the Lord of Yaakov, helping you, so you have fulfilled another verse. Hine Kel Yeshuati Evtach Velo Evchad. When I realize, like the verse says, Hine Kel Yeshuati, behold, Kel, the Lord of truth. Rabbi Nachman explains, Kel is associated with Hashem's attribute of truth. The Lord of truth, Yeshuati, is my salvation. That's it. It's only Him. Therefore, when I have that, when I have that established, Evtach velo evchad, I will trust and not be afraid. Lo evchad, I won't be afraid. Of what? Of man, of people, of situations. I won't be afraid anymore. But this is on condition that my fear of heaven comes first. And Rabbi Nachman teaches that in order for fear of heaven to come first, you need a clear, truthful perspective of Hashem. When you see the reality of the situation that you're in, your eyes are opened to see that it's Hashem running the show and not you, then you have the strength and motivation to sacrifice yourself, to give in to Hashem, what Hashem wants, and not to be afraid of what people have to say, of what people think, or of what they can do to you. No one can touch you once you're in the domain and the realm of Hashem and the fear of Hashem on top of you.